You might be saying, how do I get ready for 2022 financially, especially as we still deal with this pandemic? Kimberly Wells is a certified financial planner with Young Wealth Management in Worthington, and she's also an expert advisor with Social Security, Healthy and Life Insurance and Investments. Kimberly, thank you so much for joining us early this morning for an early start on our financial health. So let's get right to it. You say the first step to rebooting your finances is prioritizing your debt payoff. So how and why?
Absolutely. Prioritizing the debt payoff for most Americans should be number one, because the matter of the fact is a lot of those out there do carry those credit card balances. Right now, the credit card's average interest rate is between 14 and 16%. And what that means is that if you don't tackle that debt head on, those balances are going to snowball, and they can get to a point where they feel a little bit out of control, both financially and emotionally. So taking those steps to maybe, stopping spending in one area to focus, paying off those debts. Sometimes it involves in getting a second job or potentially putting off savings in one area to really focus on that can be a great start.
Let's talk about step 2, create a budget. There are some mistakes that people do when they create that budget. What do they forget, Kimberly?
Yes, I see a couple of key mistakes when we're talking about budgeting. So budgeting is accounting for all of your income and also all of your expenses. So the biggest mistake that I see is people not allotting for fun and entertainment. We're all going to spend money on fun and entertainment, but if you don't section it off in your budget, it becomes very easy to overspend in that area. Mistake number 2 would be not revisiting your budget. So setting up a budget is great, but if you don't pull that budget out monthly and make sure you're on track, that can be a big mistake as well.
And you tell us be aware of cash flow. What do you mean by that?
Yes, it is so easy in today's world to nickel and dime yourselves. We can swipe a credit card easy, push a button on our phone and order something, and we end up spending a lot of money on little purchases that add up over time that we're not even necessarily aware of. So a good way to be aware of your cash flow, there's different apps that you can add to your phone to help you track exactly what you're spending. And now that we're coming on the year end, a lot of the banking and credit card companies will put out these nice little annual reports that will show you exactly what you've spent over the course of the year. So it's a good practice to pull those reports, sit down at the kitchen table and really look at what you're spending.
And I know that you also talk about people need to factor in the child tax credit and things like that, but I do want to get to this because we've done stories about the supply chain issues, inflation. So how much should people factor into the budget with all these surcharges that we're seeing?
Yeah, the matter of the fact is that the supply chain issues are likely to stay with us well into 2022. Some people are saying even 2023. So a good way to tackle that, again, is prioritization. Look at what you need to spend, and you just talked about that in your previous story, to what you want to spend, and potentially putting off some of those bigger items that you don't really need but are just wanting until the supply chain catches up might be a good idea.
All right. Well, Kimberly Wells, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I know tomorrow you're going to join us again because we're talking about the Great Resignation, a trend we saw this year. Yes. And we'll see you again next year. So have a great morning, Kimberly.
Thanks, you as well.